Chapter 135, Holy Land That Surpasses All. Chapter 135, Holy Land That Surpasses All. Upon hearing Shifeng's admission, Liu Wusheng and Bluesheath couldn't help but be dumbfounded. How can there be a guild city so close to the boundary mountain range? This shouldn't be possible. Bluesheath couldn't help but deny reality as she looked at Abyssal Star City. On the main continent, guild towns and guild cities had long since become things that were commonly seen. There even existed quite a few guild holy cities. However, the miniature ancient world had only appeared recently. Yet, while the various powers were fighting tooth for nail to gain the privilege of controlling the various mana outposts temporarily, Zero Wing had already acquired itself a guild city. Moreover, this guild city was located right next to the boundary mountain range, the neutral zone that everyone was trying to secure a foothold in. When Bluesheath thought about the advantage Zero Wing would have over the various powers, she couldn't help but get goosebumps. Is this the reason for your confidence, Mr. Black Flame? Liu Wusheng couldn't help but ask Shifeng while looking at Abyssal Star City. Zero Wing would have an overwhelming advantage over the other powers in God's domain with the Abyssal Star Primordial City in its possession. Naturally, Mysterious Moon, Zero Wing's partner, would also gain a significant advantage over the other powers in entering the neutral zone. Meanwhile, with this advantage, Mysterious Moon could abandon its reliance on the main continent completely. So long as Mysterious Moon could secure a stable foothold in the miniature ancient world's neutral zone, it would be able to obtain much more significant profits than before. In fact, many superpowers would desperately try to partner with Mysterious Moon in the future. At that time, world dominators would have difficulty even pressuring Mysterious Moon, let alone dealing with Zero Wing. This city. Shifeng couldn't help but shake his head and laugh when he heard Liu Wusheng's question. This city isn't the reason for my confidence. Also, I've already stated before that so long as Witch's Sin partners with Zero Wing, I will give Witch's Sin's Tier 5 experts a significantly greater chance at reaching Tier 6. This isn't all you have to show us. Bluesheath couldn't help but doubt Shifeng's words. If news spread that a guild city had appeared next to the boundary mountain range, it would definitely send shockwaves throughout the entire God's domain. Compared to this piece of news, Shifeng's so-called greater chance at reaching Tier 6 paled significantly. It was commonly known that opportunities that could increase a Tier 5 player's chances at reaching Tier 6 were, at best, a God Legacy or something of roughly equivalent standard. However, even a God Legacy could only increase a Tier 5 player's promotion success rate by 10%, while most other fortuitous opportunities couldn't even provide a 10% increase. In Bluesheath's opinion, the fortuitous opportunity Shifeng hinted at was most likely the attack he had used to annihilate Shadow's experts in the New Moon Forest. After all, according to Liu Wusheng, the attack was a product of a saint-level mana technique. A mana technique of such caliber naturally could offer players a certain degree of help reaching Tier 6. Moreover, this help would come in a significant amount. At the very least, it would be much better than the average Tier 6 legacy guidance. However, even a saint-level mana technique would pale significantly compared to an actual God Legacy. You'll find out once we head inside. Shifeng did not bother explaining himself. Instead, he rode the Thunder Wolf into the city. At this time, Abyssal Star City's security had improved drastically thanks to the many NPC guards the city recruited. As a result, the number of NPCs visiting the city had also skyrocketed. When Shifeng's group made their way down the main street, they could see merchant caravans parked along the entire street while selling their wares. Meanwhile, the quantity and quality of the items these NPC merchants sold far surpassed the NPC merchants found in NPC cities. Some NPC merchants were even selling epic weapons and equipment, Tier 3 magic scrolls, and Tier 3 skill and spellbooks, things that normally weren't sold in NPC cities. However, compared to the NPC merchants, what surprised Liu Wusheng and Bluesheath, even more, was the mana density and the purification rate in Abyssal Star City. Both of these factors were directly related to the leveling speed of players. Meanwhile, with Abyssal Star City's superior mana environment and purification rate, players operating from this city would have a significant advantage when entering the neutral zone inside the boundary mountain range. After all, Players would have to fully unlock their mana body before reaching Tier 4. Meanwhile, a place with high mana density would benefit players seeking to unlock their mana body's potential. After arriving before the primordial tower in the middle of the city, Shifeng hopped off the Thunderwolf and looked at his two passengers, saying, "We're here. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks." An ancient tower? Liu Wusheng couldn't help but grow confused as he looked at the majestic tower before him. Ancient civilizations indeed possessed many powerful constructions that could aid players in their development. However, the assistance these constructions could provide was only limited to players below Tier 5. After reaching Tier 5, the help players could receive from an ancient civilization's legacy was negligible. If Tier 5 players wished to make further progress, they could only rely on themselves to figure things out. After all, Tier 6 existences were incredibly rare, even among ancient civilizations. There are special rooms inside this tower that can let players have an easier time grasping the operating principles of the various types of mana, Shifeng said when he noticed the look of confusion on Liu Wusheng's face. "However, I doubt you'll believe me even if I tell you this, so it's best if you head inside and experience it for yourself, Mr. Liu." After saying so, Shifeng brought Liu Wusheng and Blue Sheath into the primordial tower. Then, he let Liu Wusheng enter one of the rooms to experience the miniature world inside it. An hour later, Liu Wusheng left his room with a reluctant expression. His desire to stay inside the room was so obvious that even Blue Sheath could see it. "Is the inside of that room really that good, Great Elder?" Blue Sheath asked curiously. Currently, Blue Sheath had yet to touch upon the operating principles of mana. This was because she was only at the standard of a Tier 4 player. Meanwhile, what mattered most for her was not to learn about the operating principles of mana but to improve her precise control over mana. Otherwise, she wouldn't even be able to achieve an entry-level understanding of the operating principles of mana. "Good." Liu Wusheng shook his head. Then, with eyes full of excitement and madness, he said, "This is no longer a question of whether it is good or not. This place has already surpassed all holy lands in existence. If I can stay inside such a room long term, I am confident my chances of reaching Tier 6 in the future will exceed 60%. Shifeng was not surprised that Liu Wusheng would offer such a high evaluation. Looking at Liu Wusheng, Shifeng smiled and asked, "May I know if Witch's Sin is willing to partner with Zero Wing now, Mr. Liu?" TL notes. 1. Boundary Mountain Range. I'm not sure if the author forgot, but his switch to using Boundary Mountain Range in this chapter instead of Boundary River. So far, there have already been 2 variations of the Boundary River AI-2. However, he has used Boundary Mountain Range multiple times in this chapter. I'm not sure if he's decided to change Boundary River to Boundary Mountain Range, or if the Boundary River is something inside the Boundary Mountain Range. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 136. Mercenary Alliance Takes Shape. Chapter 136. Mercenary Alliance Takes Shape Partnership. After hearing Shifeng's question, Liu Wusheng couldn't help but ask, "May I know what conditions Witch's Sin will have to meet if we join Zero Wing's Mercenary Alliance?" Right now, Liu Wusheng no longer doubted the possibility of a partnership between Witch's Sin and Zero Wing. On the contrary, he wanted to complete the partnership discussions and finalize everything as soon as possible. However, the situation inside the tower was also obvious. There were only 100 rooms available on the first floor. In other words, the tower could, at most, accommodate 100 players at a time in its current state. However, Liu Wusheng did not doubt that there'd be a ton of players trying to join Zero Wing's Mercenary Alliance in the future. There was no way 100 rooms would be enough to accommodate all of these players. Not to mention, Zero Wing would certainly be saving a portion of these rooms for itself. So, the number of rooms left for the Mercenary Alliance would be even fewer. In other words, there was going to be a restriction set for those seeking to use the rooms in the tower. However, the restrictions couldn't be too absurd, either. If the restrictions Zero Wing imposed were so high that nobody could fulfill them, there'd be no reason for Witch's Sin to join Zero Wing's Mercenary Alliance. You don't have to worry about this point, Mr. Liu, Shifeng said, chuckling when he saw the concerned look on Liu Wuxing's face. Aside from the 30 rooms reserved for Zero Wing's use, the rest of the 70 rooms will be given the same treatment. Anyone who joins the Mercenary Alliance would qualify to use the Primordial Tower's rooms as long as they become a bronze member. It will cost 200 magic crystals and 100 contribution points to use the rooms for each other. Silver members will also receive a 10% discount, while gold members will receive a 20% discount. Of course, depending on the player's rank, the amount of time they can rent the rooms will also differ. Bronze members can only rent the rooms for 1 hour a day, while silver members can rent 2 hours a day and gold members can rent 4 hours a day. Members only need to reach the bronze rank to use the rooms. Liu Wuxing was a little surprised to hear Shifeng's answer. He didn't think the condition to use the rooms would be so low. May I know what it would take to become a bronze member? Also, how will the Mercenary Alliance's contribution system work? In response, Shifeng said, it's very easy to become a bronze member. All you need to do is accumulate 5,000 contribution points, while becoming a silver member will require 50,000 contribution points, and becoming a gold member will require 300,000 contribution points. Members can earn contribution points through completing the quests issued by the Mercenary Alliance. At the same time, the Mercenary Alliance will also take on commissions from others. However, the Alliance will not offer any contribution points for these commissions. The Alliance will only serve as an intermediary between players and ensure that the commissions are completed. In exchange, the Alliance will charge a small commission fee. If Witch's Sin becomes a partner of the Mercenary Alliance, you will receive 5 million contribution points to issue commissions with. However, you will have to pay a monthly fee of 1 million gold and 2 million magic crystals. You will also have to protect the Mercenary Alliance's interests and Abyssal Star City's safety. If you fail to do so, you will lose your monthly allocation of contribution points. When Shifeng finished speaking, Blue Sheath couldn't help but gasp in shock. Did Zero Wing start as a band of bandits? Blue Sheath said in a somewhat angry tone. Not only are you asking for a monthly payment of 1 million gold and 2 million magic crystals, but you also want us to protect the Mercenary Alliance's interests and the city's safety. If it were on the main continent, Witch's Sin would have no problem paying 1 million gold and 2 million magic crystals. However, they were currently in the miniature ancient world. Witch's Sin was already expending a ton of coins and magic crystals just to maintain its daily operations. There was no way Witch's Sin could afford to give Zero Wing so many coins and magic crystals. Shut your mouth, Blue. Liu Wuxing suddenly chided. Elder Liu. Blue Sheath froze in shock, and she couldn't help but look at Liu Wuxing in confusion. However, Liu Wuxing simply glared at Blue Sheath, causing Blue Sheath to promptly lower her head and stop speaking. Then, Liu Wuxing looked at Shifeng apologetically and said, I'm sorry to have shown you such an embarrassing sight, Mr. Black Flame. As an apology, Witch's Sin is willing to partner with Zero Wing and join Zero Wing's Mercenary Alliance. We are also willing to double our monthly payments for just 9 million contribution points each month. When Blue Sheath heard Liu Wuxing's words, she couldn't help but be shocked once again. For a moment, she even suspected a spy from Zero Wing had replaced the Liu Wuxing before her. Otherwise, why would Liu Wuxing behave in such a crazy manner? Not only was he not trying to reduce the payment they needed to make to Zero Wing, but he was even offering to give up on more benefits. You have a very keen insight, Mr. Liu, Shifeng said, smiling when he saw Liu Wuxing's apologetic expression. Then, he shook his head and continued, unfortunately, I cannot agree to your offer. 5 million contribution points, that is the most I can give you. I will be inviting more powers to join the Mercenary Alliance in the future, so I cannot let Witch's Sin monopolize everything. What a pity, Liu Wuxing said, sighing. All right, then. 5 million it is. Let's sign the contract immediately. This situation thoroughly dumbfounded Blue Sheath. Even though Liu Wuxing was already offering to pay more, Zero Wing had refused the offer. Wasn't Zero Wing supposed to be a guild of bandit origins? However, before Blue Sheath could snap out of her daze, Liu Wuxing had already signed a magic contract with Zero Wing on Witch's Sin's behalf. With the main god system serving as the guarantor, both parties would have to adhere to the contract's terms unless they no longer wished to exist in God's domain. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. After Shi Feng signed the contract with Witch's Sin, he let Liu Wuxing and Blue Sheath take their time strolling around Abyssal Star City. Meanwhile, he made his way to the City Lord's mansion and continued selecting NPCs to hire for the city's security. What happened to you just now, Elder Liu? Why did you offer to pay Zero Wing even more resources? Is Zero Wing's mercenary alliance that good? Blue Sheath asked, unable to hold back her curiosity any longer. Blue Sheath was well aware of Liu Wuxing's personality. The old man was the very definition of a miser. Normally, Witch's Sin's various branch guilds would have to go through a lot of trouble just to ask for some extra resources. Yet, now, Liu Wuxing had taken the initiative to give resources away to Zero Wing, an outsider. This could definitely be considered one of the wonders of Witch's Sin. You have no idea how astonishing that primordial tower is. Now that Zero Wing's mercenary alliance is still in its budding phase, we must take full advantage of this opportunity. It is especially so for the monthly allocation of contribution points. Those points will be crucial in helping more people in our guild become gold members. Otherwise, why would you think I'd be willing to pay so many coins and magic crystals? Liu Wuxing said, rolling his eyes at Blue Sheath. I didn't understand why Black Flame was so sure we would partner with him before, but I understood it all after entering the Primordial Tower's miniature world. Is that tower such a magical place, Elder Liu? Blue Sheath asked dubiously. Even a god legacy could only provide very limited help to Tier 5 players in reaching Tier 6. So, how much help could a measly Primordial Tower possibly provide to Tier 5 players? Once you reach Tier 5 as well, you'll understand just how frightening that Primordial Tower's function is, Liu Wuxing said. He couldn't help but shudder when he recalled the environment he experienced inside the Primordial Tower's miniature world. Right now, I can confidently say that if the Primordial Tower's function gets leaked, the various powers in God's domain would either try to extinguish Zero Wing or partner with Zero Wing at all costs. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3065_Miniature Ancient World, 100 Flow City, Teleportation Hall. Miniature Ancient World, 100 Flow City, Teleportation Hall. So, this is the city Zero Wing is based in. A short-haired girl wearing silver heavy armor muttered to herself after walking out of the teleportation array and looking around curiously. Stop looking around, Rain. We're here on official business, a mature beauty wearing a dark red mage robe said helplessly as she looked at the guardian knight beside her. There's less than 10 minutes left until the meetup time. I don't want to be late. As soon as these two beauties walked out of the teleportation array, they quickly became the center of attention. It was especially true for the woman dressed in the dark red robe. The many players inside the teleportation hall couldn't help but be surprised when they saw her. Crap. It's 100 Flower Palace's Frostflame Goddess, Cleansed Rue. Amazing. World Dominators' kill order has managed to attract even the 100 Flower Palace's goddess here. What are you getting so surprised about? The bounty World Dominators has put on Zero Wing is the highest in history. Even Tier 5 experts would be tempted by the god legacy offered. You got that right. I even saw quite a few Tier 5 experts from Miracle arriving in 100 Flow City some time ago. It seems even Miracle is intent on obtaining that god legacy. 100 Flow City has become a lot more popular ever since World Dominators issued its kill order. I wonder how many more experts will come here in the next few days. But I have to say that Zero Wing really is suicidal. Mysterious Moon's actions are understandable since it is competing for the Dark Moon outpost, but Zero Wing is only trying to take revenge on one of World Dominators' affiliated guilds. Even if Zero Wing wants to take revenge on Shadow, couldn't it have done so outside of World Dominators' view? Yet, Zero Wing chose to annihilate Shadow's experts right before World Dominators' eyes. World Dominators will never be able to live this down if it doesn't get rid of Zero Wing. Zero Wing's god-ranked expert might not be afraid of World Dominators' kill order, but the rest of Zero Wing's members will have to operate secretly in the future. When the players in the teleportation hall saw Cleansed Rue arriving in the city, they couldn't help but talk about the kill order world dominators had placed on Zero Wing. Meanwhile, opinions on the matter varied, with some people ridiculing Zero Wing for its foolishness and some people pitying Zero Wing for its fate. I finally understand why Little Moon applied to leave Zero Wing. With so many experts targeting Zero Wing, she can't even go out to level up even if she wants to, Rainsong said. She couldn't help but chuckle when she overheard the conversations happening around her. It's not her fault. Who would have thought Zero Wing would pull such a huge stunt? Cleansed Rue said, rolling her eyes at Rainsong when she saw the other party gloating over their junior's misfortune. Then, after briefly surveying her surroundings, Cleansed Rue said with a solemn expression, "Let's hurry. I can sense over 100 refinement realm experts in the teleportation hall alone. I'm even getting a dangerous feeling from a few of them. Dawn Moon has just graduated from school. There's no way she can withstand the stress of this situation. Once we learn about the specifics of Zero Wing, we'll have her withdraw from Zero Wing as soon as possible." Before coming to 100 Flow City, Cleansed Rue had already heard that many powers and experts had taken world dominators' bait and set their sights on Zero Wing. However, after arriving in the city herself, she realized just how terrible of a situation Zero Wing was currently in. At this moment, Zero Wing's members wouldn't necessarily be safe even within 100 Flow City, let alone outside the city. Rainsong nodded in response to Cleansed Rue's words and stopped joking around. Anyone capable of causing Cleansed Rue to feel danger would be more than capable of assassinating players in an NPC city. After all, 100 Flow City's NPCs would have to first discover the battle before they could move to stop and apprehend the troublemaker. Meanwhile, the time it took for the NPC guards to make their way to the fight scene was more than enough for a Tier 5 expert to kill a Refinement Realm expert several times. The only reason no Tier 5 expert had made a move in 100 Flow City yet was because they were still investigating Zero Wing. On the outskirts of 100 Flow City, inside the top-floor conference room of a 3-story guild hall. Chairman. Good news. Luo Tiancheng, who had fallen to level 102, cried out excitedly as he entered the conference room. A message just came in from guild leader Gu. He says that World Dominators is intent on taking 100 Flow City this time and has sent 5 more Elite Legions and 2 more Trump Card Legions. World Dominators is currently pressuring Mysterious Moon for peace talks. If Mysterious Moon still intends to compete for the Dark Moon Outpost, World Dominators will make sure that Mysterious Moon can't survive in 100 Flow City. Good. I knew World Dominators wouldn't abandon us. Lan Hailong exclaimed, an excited expression appearing on his face when he heard the news Luo Tiancheng brought. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. Luo Tiancheng nodded in agreement. Then, he smiled and continued, also, I've received news that more than 10 first-rate guilds and 3 superpowers have decided to take action against Zero Wing. These powers hesitated to take action previously because Zero Wing is partnered with Mysterious Moon, but once World Dominators' experts arrive, I believe these powers will begin taking action against Zero Wing immediately. Zero Wing, is it? Lan Hailong sneered. Let's see how Shifeng stays arrogant once he loses Mysterious Moon's backing. Chairman, should we gather some of our forces to teach Zero Wing a lesson? Luo Tiancheng suggested. Sure. Go and make the necessary preparations, Lan Hailong said, laughing. Now that they no longer had to be concerned about Mysterious Moon in 100 Flow City, it'd be child's play for them to deal with Zero Wing. Leave it to me, Chairman, Luo Tiancheng assured. However, just when Luo Tiancheng was about to turn around and leave, the conference room doors suddenly slammed open as Rampant Blade entered in a hurry. Something big has happened, Chairman. Rampant Blade urgently said. I just received news that Witch's Sin has betrayed World Dominators and formed a military alliance Zero Wing. Witch's Sin is now demanding World Dominators retract its kill order on Zero Wing, otherwise, it is going to declare war on World Dominators. Allied with Zero Wing? Lan Hailong couldn't help but be surprised and confused when he heard Rampant Blade's words. Has Witch's Sin gone crazy? Why would it make an enemy out of world dominators for Zero Wing? That was Witch's Sin they were talking about. Witch's Sin was the strongest guild out of the many guilds affiliated with world dominators. Moreover, it was commonly known that Witch's Sin had long since possessed the strength of a super first-rate guild. This was also why world dominators had always treated Witch's Sin differently than its other affiliated guilds. Yet, now, not only did Witch's Sin defect, but it had even done so because of Zero Wing. This was simply unimaginable. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3066 Inside a high-class bar located 1 street away from the city center. Inside a high-class bar located 1 street away from the city center. This is everything I've uncovered about Zero Wing, Vice Guild leader, Dawn Moon, who was hiding her appearance and information with a black cloak, said as she looked at Cleansed Rue. Then, in a powerless tone, she continued, many experts are keeping a constant eye on Zero Wing. I have to wear a black cloak to even go outdoors. Otherwise, I'd have at least a dozen experts tailing me. Zero Wing's guild leader is simply a lunatic. I can't believe he ignored World Dominators' warning just to take revenge for a guild member. Based on your report, it would seem that Zero Wing indeed possesses an extraordinary foundation. Not only has it provided Mysterious Moon with the strength to fight against World Dominators, but it also has that mana technique. Seeing as Zero Wing can afford to let so many internal members learn it, Black Flame must have fully mastered that mana technique already, Cleansed Rue said, gaining a general understanding of Zero Wing's situation after listening to Dawn Moon's report. Everything turned out roughly the same as her conjectures. From what she gathered, the person known as Black Flame should be a god-ranked expert from an outer world. Moreover, it would seem that Black Flame intended on establishing a power in the miniature ancient world, and Su Qianliu and the others were part of the first group of experts Black Flame had recruited. More and more experts are setting their sights on Zero Wing now, Vice Guild leader. When can I leave Zero Wing? Dawn Moon asked as she looked at Cleansed Rue expectantly. She truly did not wish to stay in Zero Wing for even a day longer. It was simply too stressful to have over a dozen refinement realm experts stalking her constantly. This was a treatment that even players who had offended top-tier first-rate guilds wouldn't get to enjoy. Cleansed Rue hesitated to give Dawn Moon an answer. Dawn Moon was one of the talents 100 Flower Palace had set its sights on. If she got targeted by experts every day, it'd be difficult for her to even level up, let alone seek out the opportunities scattered across the miniature ancient world. However, Zero Wing was also an opportunity for 100 Flower Palace to learn about other gods' domains and the powers originating from them. It wouldn't be long before 100 Flower Palace had to clash with outer world powers. So, 100 Flower Palace needed to learn more about Zero Wing. Before Cleansed Rue could decide on an answer, Rain Song suddenly said, I'm afraid you'll have to be disappointed, Little Moon. You have to continue staying in Zero Wing. Did something happen? Cleansed Rue asked as she looked at Rain Song strangely. Previously, Rain Song had wanted to plead on Dawn Moon's behalf to let Dawn Moon withdraw from Zero Wing sooner. Yet, now, she was saying that Dawn Moon needed to stay in Zero Wing. Moreover, she had spoken in a commanding tone. A message just came in from the guild. Witch's Sin has openly rebelled, Rain Song solemnly said. Right now, Witch's Sin has formed a military alliance with Zero Wing. Moreover, it has stated that if World Dominators doesn't retract its kill order, it will declare war on World Dominators. Has Witch's Sin gone mad? Cleansed Rue couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Witch's Sin. That was a guild that had already far surpassed 100 Flower Palace in strength. While Witch's Sin had yet to be officially acknowledged as a superpower, the many first-rate guilds in God's domain understood that Witch's Sin was already a superpower. In fact, Witch's Sin's foundations were already on par with the average superpower. Although there was still a significant difference in strength between Witch's Sin and a veteran super guild like World Dominators, there was no doubt that Witch's Sin's defection had changed the status quo of the situation. Now, World Dominators would have to carefully consider whether it truly was worthwhile to deal with Zero Wing. However, compared to what would happen in the future, Cleansed Rue was more curious to find out why Witch's Sin was helping Zero Wing to such an extent. At the same time, news of Witch's Sin's defection had also spread like wildfire, and the entire 100 Flow City was in an uproar. What's going on? Witch's Sin is siding with Zero Wing? Doesn't that mean world dominators will hesitate to take action now? What is going on? Does Zero Wing have some kind of powerful background? How did it manage to get Witch's Sin to help it to such an extent? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. The various powers operating in 100 Flow City began making all sorts of conjectures about Zero Wing after learning about Witch's Sin's defection. First, it was Mysterious Moon. Now, it was Witch's Sin. In no time at all, Zero Wing, a small guild that had originally been unremarkable, had become the center of attention of every power operating in the miniature ancient world. However, less than 15 minutes after Witch's Sin made its declaration, world dominators had also reiterated its intentions to destroy Zero Wing once again. Meanwhile, should Witch's Sin insist on being stubborn, world dominators would not hesitate to go to war with it. For a time, an uproar occurred among the various powers of God's domain. None of the various powers had expected that shortly after the miniature ancient world's opening, two of God's domain superpowers would show intentions of going to war with each other. Originally, the various powers thought that the various small guilds would be the first ones to ignite the flames of war. Then, third and second-rate guilds would follow, and things would gradually heat up until the various superpowers joined into the fray. Yet, now, two superpowers were actually planning to go to war. Moreover, the cause of this war was one small guild. In addition, shortly after World Dominators announced its stance, it had updated the bounty it offered for its kill order on Zero Wing. Now, not only was World Dominators offering a god legacy, but it had also added a legendary item to its list of rewards. A legendary item. Even the various superpowers only had a few of these items each. Meanwhile, every legendary item possessed heaven-defying abilities. Some legendary weapons could even let Tier 5 players go against Tier 6 god-ranked experts. After the announcement of such an astonishing bounty, even the various superpowers could no longer sit still. Misty Canyon, Abyssal Star City. We're in deep trouble this time, guild leader. World Dominators has thoroughly lost its mind, Su Qianliu said, a bitter smile forming on her face as she looked at Shifeng's face in the video call. According to reports, Apex experts from more than 5 superpowers have gathered in 100 Flow City ever since World Dominators issued a legendary item for its bounty. It seems everyone is intent on taking action. Seeing the gloomy look on Su Qianliu's face, Shifeng consoled, "Don't worry. Since World Dominators wants to compete using foundations, we'll compete with it. We'll show everyone that Zero Wing won't necessarily lose to World Dominators." "We won't lose to World Dominators?" Su Qianliu asked in confusion. "Gather all Zero Wing members." Chuckling, Shifeng said, "From now onwards, we'll no longer be grinding in the leveling maps around 100 Flow City." "Where are we going to grind at, then?" Su Qianliu asked in confusion. "The Boundary Mountain Range," Shifeng said, laughing. Then, he disconnected the call and called up Abyssal Star City's control panel. "Although it's a bit early, since World Dominators isn't holding back, let's see who can hold out until the end. System, do you wish to open the Abyssal Star Primordial City now?" "Open it." Shifeng confirmed his decision without hesitation. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 139, Sudden Change. Chapter 139, Sudden Change. 100 Flow City, Mysterious Moon's residence. After the battle in the New Moon Forest, Mysterious Moon had become a guild that many independent experts sought to join. Less than half a day after the battle passed, over 10,000 players had already visited Mysterious Moon's residence to apply for the guild. Just the sight of the players lining up to join Mysterious Moon had already become one of the more iconic sceneries in 100 Flow City. However, at this time, Mysterious Moon's residence, which should have been experiencing unprecedented liveliness, was strangely quiet. The atmosphere surrounding the residence was so tense that none of the independent players seeking to join Mysterious Moon dared to approach. The reason for this was the 1,000-man legion standing outside the residence's entrance. Unlike the independent players seeking to join Mysterious Moon, every member of this 1,000-man legion was fully equipped in epic weapons and equipment. Moreover, every one of them was at level 103 or above. Among them, the team leaders of the legion were even at level 104 already. This was a level that most expert players weren't even close to reaching at this stage of the game. Judging by their equipment, these people should be from the Sacred Soul Legion, one of the 3 trump card legions world dominators had sent to 100 Flow City. I know about this legion. My friend's friend is a reserve member of this legion. According to him, the minimum requirement to join the Sacred Soul Legion is the Refinement Realm standard. Moreover, all applicants must be under the age of 25. To become a team leader, you'd have to reach the Flowing Water Realm and be under 30 years old. All 1,000 members are Refinement Realm experts or stronger. Is this the strength of World Dominators' trump card legions? The crowd gathered outside Mysterious Moon's residence had their knowledge of World Dominators refreshed as they scrutinized the Sacred Soul Legion. Previously, after Mysterious Moon achieved victory against World Dominators in the New Moon Forest, it had managed to acquire a large number of Dark Moon tokens due to its monopoly over the New Moon Forest. As a result, Mysterious Moon secured an absolute advantage in the upcoming competition for the Dark Moon Outpost. For this reason, everyone in 100 Flow City felt that Mysterious Moon might become the first top-tier first-rate guild to become a superpower after the Miniature Ancient Worlds launch. However, after seeing the Sacred Soul Legion, everyone quickly realized that a super guild's foundation simply wasn't something a first-rate guild could hope to match. Or, more specifically, a first-rate guild's foundation was nothing but a joke in front of a super guild. 1,000 experts at the Refinement Realm or above. It should be known that Refinement Realm experts were regarded as core combatants in the various first-rate guilds. In the case of some first-rate guilds, even the members of their main force were nothing more than Refinement Realm experts. If a Refinement Realm expert was willing to settle for a second or third-rate guild, they could even acquire the position of main force commander or guild leader. Yet, in World Dominators, Refinement Realm experts could, at most, become ordinary members in the guild's trump card legions. After looking at the Sacred Soul Legion's members, both the players on the street and the members of Mysterious Moon couldn't help but feel as if World Dominators had just ridiculed them. It was indeed true that Mysterious Moon had won the battle in the New Moon Forest and defeated one of World Dominators' trump card legions. However, what Mysterious Moon failed to understand was that World Dominators didn't have only one trump card legion. Moreover, the legion Mysterious Moon had defeated was nothing more than the most common trump card legion under World Dominators' command. So long as World Dominators wanted to, it was more than capable of sending more trump card legions. Meanwhile, during the time the players outside were discussing World Dominators' Sacred Soul Legion, a meeting was simultaneously taking place inside the top-floor conference room of Mysterious Moon's residence. "Have you all finished considering our offer?" a middle-aged man with graying hair asked as he looked at Crimson Seal and Zhui Yarlin, his voice neither friendly nor hostile. "This is already the greatest sincerity World Dominators has to offer. So long as Mysterious Moon is willing to give up on the Dark Moon Outpost, World Dominators will stop targeting Mysterious Moon. We will also give up a shop in the Dark Moon Outpost to Mysterious Moon. However, we will restrict all access to the Dark Moon Outpost if you refuse. I believe you understand that should World Dominators seal off the Dark Moon Outpost, nobody will dare approach it. In addition, so long as any of your guild's members dare head outside to grind, we will hunt down every one of them. Nothing will change even if you have those mana equipment sets." As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the auras of the several dozen experts standing behind the middle-aged man suddenly skyrocketed in intensity. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. This is Advanced Battle Array Equipment. Crimson Seal's complexion darkened when he saw the glowing runes covering the several dozen experts' equipment. A battle array was a special type of magic array that could fuse the strength of those making up the battle array. In other words, Going up against any member of a battle array was the same as going up against the entire group simultaneously. Meanwhile, an advanced battle array could grant players the strength to transcend tiers. However, advanced battle array equipment was incredibly rare. Its rarity surpassed even that of fragmented legendary items. In terms of value, a complete set of advanced battle array equipment could rival even fragmented legendary weapons. Even then, not many people would be willing to trade a set of advanced battle array equipment for a fragmented legendary weapon. This was because advanced battle arrays could grant players strength up to the Tier 4 standard. In other words, an advanced battle array could grant a group of players Tier 4 strength. It was true that a fragmented legendary weapon might be able to let a Tier 3 player gain Tier 4 strength. Even after reaching Tier 5, a fragmented legendary weapon could still be of significant use to players. However, it should be known that the strongest combatants in most second-rate guilds in God's domain were only at the Tier 4 standard. Yet, an advanced battle array could grant a group of people Tier 4 strength. Even if advanced battle array equipment were consumable items, the amount of help it could provide to a power far exceeded that of a fragmented legendary weapon. That's right. We weren't planning on revealing it originally, but Mysterious Moon in its current state has the qualifications for us to reveal it, the middle-aged man said, nodding. Meanwhile, after World Dominators revealed the advanced battle array equipment, the Mysterious Moon members in the conference room quickly began a hushed discussion among themselves. This is bad, Vice Guild Leader. The effects of the advanced battle array equipment are no weaker than the mana equipment set. If World Dominators puts it to use, we won't have any more advantage in numbers when it comes to Tier 4 combatants, but isn't it too big of a waste to just give up on the Dark Moon outpost? Moreover, we have a contract with Zero Wing. We'll be going against the terms of our contract if we give up now. That is true, but there is simply too huge a gap between World Dominators and us. Moreover, Zero Wing is similarly having difficulty keeping itself alive right now. Mysterious Moon's members expressed their opinion on the matter one after another. Although Crimson Seal and Zhuo Yarlin remained quiet on the matter, they, too, were feeling a lot of pressure. Previously, they had already made sure to overestimate World Dominators' strength before they waged war with the Super Guild. However, after seeing World Dominators' show of force, they understood that a super guild simply wasn't an existence a first-rate guild could hope to go up against. What do you think, Nightingale? Crimson Seal asked as he looked at Zhuo Yarlin. He hesitated to decide on this matter, so he decided to leave the decision to Zhuo Yarlin. Me. Zhuo Yarlin was similarly feeling hesitant right now. Originally, she had been confident that Mysterious Moon could go up against World Dominators. However, she now realized how laughable her confidence was. All right, hurry up and decide. Our patience is limited, the middle-aged man said as he looked at Zhuo Yarlin. Based on his observations, he could tell that Zhuo Yarlin was the decision-maker for Mysterious Moon in the miniature ancient world, not Crimson Seal. Upon hearing the middle-aged man's urging, Mysterious Moon's executives promptly turned to look at Zhuo Yarlin. Zhuo Yarlin was the person who had single-handedly facilitated the partnership between Zero Wing and Mysterious Moon. So, it'd be most appropriate for her to decide whether Mysterious Moon would continue being enemies with World Dominators. When Zhuo Yarlin looked at the various executives' expressions, she understood that everyone was of the opinion that Mysterious Moon should give up on the Dark Moon outpost. She, too, understood that this would be the wisest decision to make. Yet, if they gave up now, it would mean betraying Zero Wing, and this was something she definitely didn't wish to do. While Zhuo Yarlin was pondering how she should respond to World Dominators' threat, the sound of a system notification suddenly entered her ears. Miniature Ancient World System Announcement: Misty Canyon's Abyssal Star Primordial City is now open. Miniature Ancient World System Announcement: Congratulations to the Abyssal Star Primordial City for becoming the first player-controlled city in the miniature ancient world. All players resting in the city will accumulate the double EXP buff at twice the normal rate for 10 days. Teleportation scroll for the Abyssal Star Primordial City will also be sold in the teleportation hall of all NPC cities. Every player will only be allowed to buy one teleportation scroll. This benefit will only remain for 1 day. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 140. Miniature Ancient Worlds Number 1 City. Chapter 140. Miniature Ancient Worlds Number 1 City. Abyssal Star Primordial City. A player-controlled city. The Misty Canyon is the map next to the Boundary Mountain Range. I remember that its map level is level 120. There are players grinding there already? Crap. This is absurd. While the various powers are contesting for the mana outposts located near NPC cities, someone has already built a guild city. Could this be one of the 5 great super guilds doing? That's most likely the case. Aside from the 5 great super guilds, I can't think of any other power that has the ability to establish a city next to the Boundary Mountain Range. As soon as the system announcement appeared, every player and power operating in the miniature ancient couldn't help but be stunned. In the current God's domain, every player in the game was familiar with the concept of guild cities. However, the miniature ancient world had only been open to players for a short period. Logically, it should be impossible for anyone to acquire a guild city so soon. It should be known that even the various superpowers were only competing for the mana outposts located close to level 110 maps. Yet, someone had already established a city in a level 120 map close to the Boundary Mountain Range. The difference between these two sides was like the difference between heaven and earth. Whoever controlled the Abyssal Star Primordial City would have a gigantic advantage over the various superpowers. A level 120 map? Although I can't grind there right now, it wouldn't hurt to check it out. Whoever built this city is simply amazing. They actually made it possible for others to buy the city's teleportation scrolls in the various NPC cities. This will save us a ton of travel time. The city will also be able to gather players from all over the entire miniature ancient world. At this rate, the Abyssal Star Primordial City will probably become the miniature ancient world's number 1 city in no time. I wonder if the private housing and shops in this city are available for sale. If they're for sale, I'm definitely going to buy until I go bankrupt. After a short period of awe, players quickly began reacting to Abyssal Star City's value one after another. Abyssal Star City was not only the only player-controlled city in the miniature ancient world, but it was also a city located close to the Boundary Mountain Range. Hence, all players and powers seeking to enter the Boundary Mountain Range were unlikely to let go of this opportunity. Setting aside the players and powers operating in NPC cities located far from Abyssal Star City, those operating in NPC cities close to the Misty Canyon would most likely treat Abyssal Star City as the center of their development. Not to mention, players could purchase teleportation scrolls on the first day of Abyssal Star City's opening and teleport directly to the city. The number of players gathered in the city on this opening day would likely reach unprecedented numbers. This was a massive business opportunity. If they didn't hurry now, it had become incredibly difficult to even get into the city once the city reached full capacity. For a time, players in the various NPC cities could be seen rushing to their respective cities' teleportation hall to purchase the teleportation scroll for Abyssal Star City. Inside a high-class bar in 100 Flow City. Let's hurry over, Big Sis Roo. We can set aside Zero Wings matter until after we investigate the Abyssal Star Primordial City, Rain Song exclaimed after reading the system announcement. Whoever built this city is simply incredible. It probably won't be long before the city becomes the center of the miniature ancient world. It's definitely going to become a target of contention for the various powers. Every power operating in the miniature ancient world was looking to enter the Boundary Mountain Range as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Abyssal Star City was undoubtedly the best platform for them to accomplish this feat through. Adding on the fact every city in God's domain had a maximum capacity. As soon as a city's player population reached the maximum, players would no longer be able to enter the city. They would have to wait until others left the city before they could enter. Normally, a guild city could, at most, accommodate 2 or 3 million players. However, there were over 100 million players in the miniature ancient world. If even a fraction of these players tried to enter the Abyssal Star Primordial City, the city would reach full capacity instantly. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. Okay. Let's hurry over, then, Cleansed Rue said, a look of urgency appearing in her eyes. As a guild established by an outer-world power, Zero Wing indeed had a significant partnership value. However, the value of Zero Wing's partnership paled in significance compared to the current Abyssal Star City. In fact, the Abyssal Star Primordial City was so important that even mysterious moon and world dominators had unanimously chosen to postpone their discussions and hurried over to the city immediately. Meanwhile, inside the Candlelight Hotel, when Su Qianliu saw the system announcement, she couldn't help but be dumbfounded. A city close to the Boundary Mountain Range? It can't be, right? When Su Qianliu recalled Shifeng mentioning that their guild's new grinding spot was going to be at the Boundary Mountain Range, she couldn't help but start fantasizing. Currently, Zero Wing was a pitiful guild that didn't even have a guild residence. On top of that, Zero Wing even had to deal with world dominators' kill order. Even surviving was a luxury for Zero Wing right now. In Zero Wing's current state, obtaining a guild city was nothing but a dream, let alone obtaining a guild city close to the Boundary Mountain Range. However, after reading a message Shifeng had just sent to her, Su Qianliu's eyes lit up with an unprecedented shine. The content of Shifeng's message was simple: to have all guild members head to the Adventurers Association, purchase a guild transfer scroll, and gather in Abyssal Star City. Why did you call us to gather all of a sudden, Vice Guild Leader? Did something urgent happen? Dawn Moon curiously asked as she looked at Su Qianliu. The other Zero Wing members gathered in the Candlelight Hotel also looked at Su Qianliu with a curious gaze. While they were standing around doing nothing here, everyone else in Hundred Flow City was making their way over to Abyssal Star City. Abyssal Star City was a significant opportunity for all players and powers operating in the miniature ancient world. It'd be a huge waste if Zero Wing missed out on this opportunity. I naturally called you here because something came up, Su Qianliu said. Moreover, it is a wonderful matter for us. From now onward, we no longer have to worry about world dominators' kill order. We don't have to worry about the kill order. Firecloud was very confused when he heard Su Qianliu's words. Did world dominators retract it? Zero Wing was currently targeted by experts all over the miniature ancient world. Unless world dominators retracted its kill order, no place would be safe for Zero Wing's members. You'll find out in a moment, Su Qianliu said. For now, I need everyone to head to the Adventurers Association and buy a guild transfer scroll. Our guild finally has its own guild residence. Everyone was speechless when they heard Su Qianliu's words. Having a guild residence wasn't anything to be prideful about. After all, the various first and second-rate guilds had long since obtained a guild residence of their own. While it was indeed good news that Zero Wing now had its own guild residence, it definitely wasn't enough for them to stop worrying about world dominators' kill order. Alright, hurry up. We'll meet up at the guild residence later, Su Qianliu said, laughing when she saw the look of contempt everyone was giving her. Su Qianliu was Zero Wing's vice guild leader. Since she had given out a command, everyone had no choice but to fulfill it. Immediately, everyone made their way to the Adventurers Association and bought a guild transfer scroll. Then, they activated the scroll and vanished from Hundred Flow City. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3069-Misty Canyon, Abyssal Star Primordial City. Misty Canyon, Abyssal Star Primordial City. Flashes of light appeared in the city's central plaza one after another, instantly enveloping the entire plaza in light. When these flashes of light faded, they revealed the figures of players. These players easily numbered in the tens of thousands, and this number was still rapidly increasing with each passing second. So, this is the Abyssal Star Primordial City. What a great place this is. The mana density here is a great deal higher than even NPC cities. The purification rate is also several times faster. This primordial city is too amazing. If I can come here once I reach level 110, my leveling speed will double or even triple. I wonder which of the 5 great super guilds built this city. Whoever built it will definitely hold the #1 position in the miniature ancient world in the future. The instant the various players arrived in Abyssal Star City, they promptly discovered its greatness. Many executives from the various superpowers had also begun contacting their friends in the 5 great super guilds, all of them wishing to form a partnership with the owner of this city. However, even after asking around, none of these executives had managed to come up with any useful information. After all, even the 5 great super guilds were stunned by this situation. They were all curious which one among them had managed to come up with such a powerful city within such a short time. Out of the swarm of players that had arrived in Abyssal Star City, one particular group of cloaked players behaved differently from the rest of the crowd. While others were randomly wandering around the city and taking in all the information they could, this group of cloaked players swiftly moved around the city as if they had known about its layout beforehand and inspected only the key locations in the city. Some of these cloaked players had even arrived in front of the Primordial Tower already. Is this the Primordial Tower that Sol mentioned? This tower should be the legacy of an ancient civilization. It seems that Sol did not lie to us. I honestly didn't expect Sol to find a powerful backer in the miniature ancient world. I thought she would have no chance of wrestling her commander position back. Now, it seems she might have a chance at doing so. I heard Sol say that the owner of this city is a god-ranked expert from an outer-world power that's even stronger than our god's domain's 5 great super guilds combined. I thought she was joking with me before, but it seems that this might also be true. After all, there's no way any of the current 5 great super guilds can come up with such a city. The Mercenary Alliance Sol invited us to join has relatively lax conditions. They're much better than the Flower of 7 Sins' rules. What do you guys think? Sol has gone a little crazy from trying to wrestle back her position, so we can't fully trust her judgment. I think it's best if we meet that god-ranked expert she mentioned first. When the 6 cloaked players gathered in front of the Primordial Tower talked about Hidden Sol, they spoke as if they were talking about a little kid. It should be known that Hidden Sol was a Tier 5 expert capable of threatening even Tier 6 god-ranked experts. Yet, these 6 players did not show any fear or respect when speaking about her. If Hidden Sol were here, she wouldn't feel surprised by these 6 people's behavior. This was because these 6 people were very special. They were also the strongest experts she could find. Although these people were not Tier 6 god-ranked experts, every one of them was an expert who had already reached the 2nd step or 3rd step of the domain realm. They were far stronger than the average domain realm expert, and even most Tier 6 god-ranked experts were only on this level in terms of combat standards. Meanwhile, in the front courtyard of a guild hall that occupied a huge area along Abyssal Star City's main street, over 1,000 players wearing Zero Wings guild emblem were currently gathered here. This is the Abyssal Star Primordial City. Our guild residence is in Abyssal Star City. Am I dreaming? When the gathered Zero Wing members looked at their system map and the players curiously looking at them from outside the guild residence, they quickly realized where they were currently, the Abyssal Star Primordial City that was now a sensation throughout the entire miniature ancient world. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. For a time, everyone present couldn't help but be dumbfounded. This was the Abyssal Star Primordial City they were talking about. Even though Abyssal Star City had only existed for a short period, many people had already recognized it as the #1 city in the miniature ancient world. Meanwhile, whoever got to develop in this city would have a significant advantage when entering the Boundary Mountain Range in the future. Currently, countless powers were trying to get in touch with Abyssal Star City's ruling power. Yet, their guild had already secured a guild residence in the city. This was simply unbelievable. At this time, everyone gathered could already imagine what kind of future lay in front of their guild. They'd be able to enter the Boundary Mountain Range ahead of everyone else and become the envy of the various powers in God's domain. While Zero Wings members were getting excited over this situation, Shifeng had also arrived at the residence's courtyard. Guild leader, is this really going to be our guild residence? Firecloud couldn't help but ask as he looked at Shifeng. Zero Wing was currently facing great pressure due to World Dominator's kill order. While they were still holding on because of the mana equipment set, this wasn't a long-term solution. If they weren't careful, they could lose even their mana equipment sets. However, if Zero Wing could have a guild residence in Abyssal Star City, the various powers of God's domain would have difficulty even coming into contact with them, let alone hunting them. Moreover, since Zero Wing was able to secure a guild residence in Abyssal Star City, it meant that Zero Wing shared deep ties with Abyssal Star City's ruling power. In that case, the various powers experts and independent experts would have to think twice about targeting Zero Wing in the future. They'd have to consider whether World Dominators' bounty or Abyssal Star City's advantages were more important. After all, Abyssal Star City's ruling power would only need to lift a finger to prohibit specific players from entering the city. Unless those hunting Zero Wing's members could hide their identities perfectly, they'd have to say goodbye to Abyssal Star City otherwise. Moreover, players would become red players if they killed other players out in the fields. The more players they killed, the longer they would remain as red players. Unless these red players remained outside of Abyssal Star City forever, there was no way they could avoid getting detected. However, the likelihood of that happening was low. The density of the foreign energy present in the Boundary Mountain Range was incredibly high, so the corrosion speed there was much faster than level 110 maps. Even players with silver mana bodies could, at most, last a dozen hours in the Boundary Mountain Range. If players exceeded their time limit, they would die to the corrosion of the foreign energy and lose levels and equipment. When Firecloud finished speaking, the other Zero Wing members present also turned to look at Shifeng, hoping to gain verification directly from Shifeng's mouth. "Don't worry. This guild residence belongs to Zero Wing from now on," Shifeng said, chuckling when he saw everyone's nervous expressions. "Also, I have another piece of news to tell you. Zero Wing is one of Abyssal Star City's founding powers, so you don't have to worry that we might get banished from the city in the future. Nobody will dare offend Zero Wing in this city. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 142, Join vs Confrontation. Chapter 142, Join vs Confrontation. Abyssal Star City, Zero Wing's residence. Upon hearing Shifeng's words, the Zero Wing members present shook with excitement. At the same time, they also couldn't help but sigh in relief. Thank goodness I hadn't left Zero Wing yet. I would have definitely died from regret if I did, Dawn Moon thought as she patted her chest. Abyssal Star City's effects and location made it the best training spot for all players in the current miniature ancient world. While Abyssal Star City was open to all players, the number of players trying to visit it was simply too great. Aside from players based in NPC cities far from Abyssal Star City and players who lacked the strength to survive in the Misty Canyon, everyone else would probably be seeking to operate from Abyssal Star City. Once players reached a high enough level to grind in the Misty Canyon and its surrounding maps, the number of players trying to enter Abyssal Star City would probably exceed 100 million. 100 million. Abyssal Star City might be larger than the average advanced guild town, but it was still slightly smaller than the average guild city. The average basic guild city could, at most, accommodate around 10 million players, whereas Abyssal Star City could only accommodate around 5 or 6 million players. In other words, not everyone could freely enter Abyssal Star City. A majority of the players seeking to enter the city would have to wait in line. Meanwhile, how long would a line consisting of tens of millions of players take to finish? Not to mention, Abyssal Star City's ruling power would definitely be saving some of the city's population slots for its own use. So, that would leave even fewer slots for players not affiliated with the ruling power. The area Abyssal Star City is located isn't suitable for you to grind right now, but you can head to the nearby Burning Land under the escort of the NPC guards. That place might be a level 115 map, but the monsters there are only at level 111 and level 112 on average. Few monsters are above level 112. With Su Qianliu and the others taking charge, you guys should be able to just barely grind there. Your leveling speed there should also be similar to level 110 maps, Shifeng said, chuckling when he saw the crowd before him sighing in relief. Also, the guild has added a new benefit. If you are looking to improve your mana control, you can head over to the Primordial Tower and give it a try. It should help you make some significant improvements. Zero Wing had lost many members because of World Dominators' kill order. As a result, Zero Wing's already low member count had fallen even lower. Currently, there were only a little over 1,000 members in the guild. There was probably no guild smaller than Zero Wing in the miniature ancient world right now. However, this situation had also allowed Zero Wing to weed out the members with fickle loyalty. So, Shifeng did not intend on being stingy with those who remained. At the very least, he would open access to the primordial tower to all who remained. Moreover, he also planned to pass down the physical exercises he had developed in his previous life to everyone. With this exercise, even an ordinary member of Zero Wing would have a significant chance of reaching the refinement realm. It was a stark contrast to the various superpowers, which would only share their guild legacies with internal and core members. While Zero Wing's members were celebrating in joy and excitement, the various powers that had come to investigate the Abyssal Star Primordial City had also finally discovered the identity of the city's ruling power: the Azura Mercenary Alliance. While it was true that the insignificant Zero Wing and the pseudo-superpower witches Sin both possessed a guild residence in Abyssal Star City, the most eye-catching building in the city would have to be the 5-story building situated next to the Primordial Tower. The reason the building was eye-catching was that it occupied a huge area that equaled 2 sport stadiums. It was also the second largest building in the city after the Primordial Tower. Of course, the huge size of the building also meant that it came with a huge price tag. Shifeng had invested 500,000 magic crystals and 100,000 gold into constructing the Mercenary Alliance's headquarters, and it was currently the most expensive building in the city. Meanwhile, aside from having many private rooms, the Mercenary Alliance's headquarters also had quite a few basic combat rooms plus a massive arena that allowed players to spar and train their techniques. Currently, the Azura Mercenary Alliance was mass recruiting players. Anyone who had reached the Trial Tower's 7th floor could join the Mercenary Alliance. Moreover, there was no restriction on a player's affiliations. Even players belonging to adventurer teams and guilds could join the Mercenary Alliance without having to leave their previous organizations. In addition, so long as one joined the Mercenary Alliance, one would immediately enjoy a 50% discount on their entrance fee into the city. Normally, players would have to pay 20 silver to enter Abyssal Star City. So, becoming a member of the Mercenary Alliance would mean a savings of 10 silver. Aside from entrance fees, members would also enjoy a 5% discount when staying in Abyssal Star City's accommodations. They would also have priority when entering Abyssal Star City. These were all privileges exclusively available to the ruling powers members. In the case of Zero Wings and Witches Sin's members, they would have to pay the standard entrance fee when entering the city. Although they could use guild transfer scrolls to enter the city, the selling price of guild transfer scrolls was similarly priced at 20 silver. Hence, only by becoming a member of the Azura Mercenary Alliance would one receive a privileged status in Abyssal Star City. However, what mattered most to the various powers wasn't the privileges offered to the Mercenary Alliance's standard members. Instead, it was the privileges offered to higher-ranking members. Upon achieving bronze membership status in the Mercenary Alliance, players would have the right to rent the rooms inside the Primordial Tower. Although the various powers didn't know what use the Primordial Tower's rooms had, what they did know was that silver members could rent Abyssal Star City's shops, while gold members could rent their own private housing in Abyssal Star City. These were the privileges that truly tempted the various powers. Abyssal Star City was fated to become the #1 city in the miniature ancient world. Currently, the only factors limiting the city's growth were the average level of players and the city's low rank. However, these were all problems that could be solved with time. Once Abyssal Star City developed into a guild city that could accommodate tens of millions of players, the wealth it could generate would reach astonishing levels. Not to mention, Abyssal Star City was also located close to the Boundary Mountain Range. So, the city would also become the first choice for players looking to enter the Boundary Mountain Range. If they could rent the shops or private houses here, they'd be able to generate significant amounts of income. Zero Wing truly cannot be underestimated. No wonder Witches Sin chose to betray world dominators, Crimson Seal commented after arriving in Abyssal Star City and seeing that Zero Wing had a residence here. Even the various superpowers will desperately seek to own a residence here. By the looks of it, Zero Wing must have deep ties with Abyssal Star City's ruling power. Hearing Crimson Seal's words, Zhuo Yalin nodded and said, "We absolutely cannot partner with world dominators now. Although going against world dominators will create some problems for us down the line, so long as we hold on to our relationship with Zero Wing, Mysterious Moon will have more advantages in Abyssal Star City." "Indeed, but we should still go and check out the Azura Mercenary Alliance first," Crimson Seal said. He felt fortunate that they hadn't conceded to world dominators' demands yet. Otherwise, they would have lost out on the chance to partner with Zero Wing. Meanwhile, sometime after the various powers and independent players had gathered at the Azura Mercenary Alliance's headquarters, the Mercenary Alliance suddenly introduced a new rule that dumbfounded everyone. The rule stated that all players belonging to world dominators or powers affiliated with world dominators were prohibited from joining the Mercenary Alliance. In addition, effective immediately, members of the Mercenary Alliance could earn contribution points for every world dominators member they killed. They would earn 5 points for killing ordinary members, 20 points for killing internal members, and 100 points for killing core members. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 143, Bounty vs. Bounty. Chapter 143, Bounty vs. Bounty. The introduction of this new rule caused everyone inside Azura's headquarters to grow silent. The kill order world dominators placed on Zero Wing previously had shocked the entire God's domain to a great extent. However, the Azura Mercenary Alliance's action of using Abyssal Star City's privileges to exchange for world dominators' life utterly dumbfounded everyone. Abyssal Star City had already become a holy land for the entire miniature ancient world. The privileges Azura offered for its silver and gold members were things that even the various superpowers would want. Although the various superpowers had thought of occupying Abyssal Star City by force, none of them dared to make a move, especially not after seeing several hundred Tier 4 NPC guards in the city. Even the imperial capitals on the main continent did not have a force of several hundred Tier 4 NPCs guarding them. It might be true that the various superpowers had trump cards that allowed them to grant Tier 4 strength to Tier 3 players. However, Tier 4 strength was just that and nothing more. The average NPC was significantly stronger than the average player of the same tier. In front of a Tier 4 NPC, a group of players with Tier 4 strength would last no more than a few moves. Hence, even if the various superpowers were tempted by the idea of securing Abyssal Star City for themselves, they could only keep their thoughts in their minds. At the very least, before Tier 4 players appeared, the various superpowers would have no choice but to put their foolish ambitions to rest. With occupying Abyssal Star City not being an option, the only other way the various powers could benefit from Abyssal Star City's effects right now was by following the rules set by the city's ruling power. Only by doing so could they enter the Boundary Mountain range at the quickest of speeds. Meanwhile, there was probably no power in God's domain that could resist the temptation of entering the Boundary Mountain range ahead of others. It should be known that the ones tempted this time were God's domain's various powers, not the various powers experts. The two were entirely different concepts. If a power was tempted to move, every expert under it would also move. It wouldn't just be a few individual experts making a move. Hence, Azura's bounty wasn't a bounty offered to the individual player. Instead, it was an offer to the various superpowers. In other words, Azura was trying to get the various powers of God's domain to go against world dominators. Holy cow! Isn't Zero Wing a little too amazing? It can actually influence Azura to such an extent. World dominators will probably start cursing once it finds out about this bounty. I really don't understand what world dominators was thinking. Did it have to take things so far against Zero Wing just to avenge a measly second-rate guild? Just look at what kind of trouble it has gotten into now. Honestly, I'm starting to pity world dominators a little. Zero Wing wasn't even trying to target world dominators initially. Yet, now, world dominators will face the threat of destruction just because it tried to stick up for a second-rate guild. If I were in the shoes of world dominators' core executives, I'd probably have the urge to crush that second-rate guild with my own hands. The various superpowers executives inside Azura's headquarters couldn't help but laugh when they realized the implications of Azura's new rule. Many superpowers wished to take world dominators' place. However, as world dominators' foundations were simply too strong, most superpowers only dared to watch from the sidelines. None of them dared to try and get a cut of world dominators' pie. Of course, it would have been entirely possible for the various superpowers to eradicate world dominators if they simply worked together. The only reason they hadn't done so thus far was because they didn't have enough of a reason to do so. After all, even if they worked together and succeeded in getting rid of world dominators, they would have to suffer immense losses in the process, which would, in turn, leave them vulnerable to others. However, things were different now. The Azura Mercenary Alliance's bait was tempting enough for the various superpowers to secretly band together and remove world dominators from the miniature ancient world. Not only could they gain access to Abyssal Star City's privileges by doing so, but they could also reduce the number of competitors by one. They'd be killing two birds with one stone, so why would they turn down such an opportunity? This Azura Mercenary Alliance must be crazy. Why are they going so far for a measly guild like Zero Wing? When Lan Hailong saw the registration rules displayed in the lobby of Azura's headquarters, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Originally, Lan Hailong had felt joyous when he first came to Abyssal Star City. It was especially true after he saw the registration rules for the Azura Mercenary Alliance. The Mercenary Alliance's benefits allowed him to see another opportunity for Shadow to compete in the miniature ancient world. However, he never thought that this dream would turn into a nightmare. Once news of Azura's bounty got out, it'd be a miracle if world dominators didn't personally destroy Shadow. Previously, world dominators had only decided to take action against Zero Wing because it thought that Zero Wing was a small and insignificant guild. In doing so, it could also set an example for the various powers and increase the loyalty of its affiliated guilds. However, it was now revealed that Zero Wing had an existence like the Azura Mercenary Alliance backing it. After this revelation, so long as World Dominators wasn't stupid, it definitely would not continue targeting Zero Wing. Otherwise, what awaited it would be a nightmare. Meanwhile, the best way to appease Zero Wing would undoubtedly be to destroy Shadow and thoroughly erase it from God's domain. If World Dominators did that, there was no way Zero Wing could have the Azura Mercenary Alliance continue putting a bounty on a super guild like World Dominators. Everything happened just like Lan Hailong expected. Less than 10 minutes after the Azura Mercenary Alliance introduced its bounty, World Dominators' executives in the miniature ancient world had gathered for a meeting. Looking at the dozen or so people gathered in the conference room, a white-haired middle-aged man indifferently said, "I'm sure everyone is already aware of the cause and effect of this matter. The Azura Mercenary Alliance's bounty on us is already in effect, so state whatever opinions you have. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 144, Shadow's End. Chapter 144, Shadow's End. There were over a dozen people inside the solemn and majestic conference room. Every one of these people had reached level 104, and they were all equipped with Hall of Fame level epic equipment sets and epic weapons or magic weapons that rivaled fragmented legendary weapons. If Mysterious Moon's Jua Yarlin were present in this room, she would definitely be given a fright. This was because every one of the players in this conference room was a domain realm expert with basic attributes at the Tier 4 standard. Only Crimson Seal with his mana equipment set could stand a chance against these players in a one-on-one situation. Every other Mysterious Moon member in the miniature ancient world would be no match. That Azura Mercenary Alliance is simply looking down on us. So what if they put a bounty on us? I'm curious to see who, other than the 5 great super guilds, would dare to go against us, a rowdy woman wearing silver plate armor said through the helmet covering her face. Those first-rate guilds can only prance around before us since all of us are Tier 3 right now. Once we reach level 120, whether it is those first-rate guilds or that Azura Mercenary Alliance, I want to see just which one of them will dare continue acting so boldly. What you say is true, but we simply can't play to our strengths right now, a white-haired old man sitting beside the rowdy woman said, shaking his head. We might be able to do something if we are only going up against Azura, but many superpowers are also secretly eyeing us. With the conditions Azura has put out, those superpowers will definitely join forces against us. Those superpowers are indeed a trouble. The rowdy woman stopped acting out of anger after hearing the old man's words. Evidently, she, too, was concerned about the various superpowers working together to target world dominators. That damnable Azura mercenary alliance. How shameless must it be to use its city's privileges to tempt those superpowers? The Abyssal Star Primordial City was simply too tempting of an opportunity to give up. On the one hand, the city was situated next to the Boundary Mountain Range, so it was incredibly advantageous for players seeking to reach level 120 quickly and enter the Boundary Mountain Range. On the other hand, the city's purification effect was astounding, and it was at least several times faster than the NPC cities in the miniature ancient world. With such a purification speed, players could save plenty of rest time. Most importantly, Abyssal Star City was bound to become one of the vital transit points for players seeking to trade between the two gods' domains in the future. After all, many precious resources in God's domain couldn't be stored in players' bag space. Players would need to transport these precious resources bit by bit. Hence, they needed to have transit warehouses along their trade routes. Meanwhile, Abyssal Star City, which was located next to the Boundary Mountain Range, could be said to be the most suitable transit point. According to my sources, even the 5 great super guilds are interested in Abyssal Star City. Once their players start to reach level 120 and get promoted to Tier 4, they will most likely begin taking action against the city, an elegant woman dressed in a black mage robe said, smiling. If we want to deal with Zero Wing, all we need to do is endure until level 120. At that time, Azura's bounty will automatically lose effect. Many nodded in agreement with the elegant woman's words. There was no power in God's domain that wouldn't be tempted by Abyssal Star City. Naturally, the 5 great super guilds were no exception. There might not be anyone capable of taking down Abyssal Star City right now, but once Tier 4 experts started appearing, the 5 great super guilds could absolutely capture the city. Level 120. However, the white-haired old man shook his head when he heard the elegant woman's words. He scoffed at the woman's suggestion to fight a war of attrition with Zero Wing. Even experts like us will need at least a month to reach that level. Can you all honestly accept the losses we will suffer during this 1 month? The people who previously agreed with the elegant woman fell silent. It might be fine if they were simply going up against the various first-rate guilds. After all, even the weakest core member in World Dominators was a refinement realm expert. It'd be difficult for first-rate guilds to target experts of such caliber. As for World Dominators' non-core members, it didn't matter how many of them died. Such a loss would be inconsequential to World Dominators. In God's domain, experts beneath Tier 4 were utterly worthless. Any random Tier 4 expert could single-handedly eradicate a force of several thousand Tier 3 experts. The only purpose such experts had was to serve as cannon fodder and carry out menial tasks such as exploration and information gathering. However, if the various superpowers experts took action, World Dominators' core experts would undoubtedly suffer severe casualties. This, in turn, would put World Dominators at a severe disadvantage when it expanded its development into the Boundary Mountain Range. Alright, that's enough talking. Everyone, cast your votes, the grey-haired, middle-aged man said after seeing everyone failing to come to a unanimous conclusion. Do we continue targeting Zero Wing? Or do we withdraw the kill order and seek reconciliation? Each person only gets 1 vote. After the grey-haired, middle-aged man spoke up, the people gathered stopped their discussions and voiced their stances. I vote to continue, the rowdy woman said definitively. My suggestion is for us to withdraw our kill order on Zero Wing temporarily. We will have plenty of time to target Zero Wing in the future, the white-haired old man stated. After everyone present expressed their stances, the grey-haired, middle-aged man tallied up the votes. There are 15 of us here. 6 have chosen to continue targeting Zero Wing, and 9 have chosen to seek reconciliation. The final verdict is to withdraw our kill order on Zero Wing and seek a way to get Zero Wing to withdraw its bounty on us. the middle-aged man calmly stated. Moving on to the next topic, how will we get Zero Wing to withdraw its bounty on us? That's simple. Wasn't Zero Wing trying to get revenge on Shadow before? The white-haired old man stated. We can simply offer up Shadow. We can even help Zero Wing and erase Shadow from God's domain. That is indeed a good idea, the elegant woman said, nodding. Shadow is nothing but an incompetent bungler. If it weren't for Shadow, we would have never had to wage war against Zero Wing. Even if we are to deal with Zero Wing in the future, we absolutely cannot let Shadow remain. We might as well use this opportunity to get rid of it. Let's vote on it, then. Do we assist Zero Wing in disposing of Shadow? The middle-aged man asked nonchalantly. I concur. I second it. Seconded. All 15 people voted in favor of the motion. Afterward, the middle-aged man announced, all 15 votes are in favor. The final verdict is to dispose of Shadow. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 145, Erasure. Chapter 145, Erasure Miniature Ancient World, 100 Flow City. After the sudden bounty the Azura Mercenary Alliance had put on world dominators, an uproar also occurred in 100 Flow City. Zero Wing is amazing. I can't believe it dared to put a bounty on a super guild. This is the first time a non-superpower has done such a thing since God's Domain's launch. World Dominators is probably losing its mind right about now. Zero Wing might be a small guild, but it has a powerful background. That Azura Mercenary Alliance has established a city next to the Boundary Mountain Range, something even the 5 great super guilds haven't managed to accomplish. World Dominators has gotten itself into big trouble this time. I heard many superpowers are tempted to take action. I wonder what World Dominators plans to do about this situation. Initially, many of 100 Flow City's players and powers didn't have much understanding of World Dominators. However, after witnessing the scene over at Mysterious Moon's residence, they understood just how frightening a super guild was. So, when everyone learned that Zero Wing had put a bounty capable of tempting even superpowers on World Dominators, they couldn't help but look forward to what would happen next. God's Domain had already remained peaceful for a long time. Whether it was independent players or the various major powers, everyone had already grown used to being controlled by the various superpowers. Meanwhile, the various superpowers had also seemingly come to a tacit agreement to keep their conflicts contained. Never had any superpower launched a full-scale war against another superpower. Originally, everyone thought that Mysterious Moon would become the first guild to restart the warring era and initiate a full-scale war against world dominators. However, the honor of doing so would most likely be going to Zero Wing instead, looking at the current situation. While the players in 100 Flow City were talking about Azura's bounty on world dominators, several thousand players suddenly walked out of the city's teleportation hall. Not only was every player in this group at level 103 or above, but they were also fully equipped in epic weapons and equipment. The aura they radiated also caused the surrounding players to feel suffocated. This was because even the weakest among these players was at the half-step refinement realm standard, with most of them being at the refinement realm standard. Most importantly, every one of these players wore World Dominators' guild emblem on their chest. Obviously, these players must be from one of World Dominators' trump card legions. Why did so many experts from World Dominators come to 100 Flow City? Could World Dominators be thinking of extinguishing Zero Wing once and for all? This is great. The fires of war are finally lighting up. I wonder who will win in the end. Will it be Zero Wing? Or will it be World Dominators? The surrounding players couldn't help but grow excited when they saw World Dominators' experts making their way to Zero Wing's Candlelight Hotel after exiting the teleportation hall. The last time a massive war had taken place in God's Domain was several years ago. It was a war that had destroyed an entire kingdom, and just watching the video recording of the war gave everyone an unforgettable experience. If they could witness such a war taking place with their own eyes, they'd have no more regrets. Inside a 3-story open-air bar near the Candlelight Hotel. When Rain Song looked at the experts surrounding the Candlelight Hotel, she turned to Cleansed Rue and worriedly asked, "Big Sis Rue, Why do you think world dominators suddenly sent so many experts over this time? Could it really be planning on duking it out with Zero Wing? The strength world dominators had kept hidden was massive beyond comprehension. While Abyssal Star City was indeed an amazing city, Azura's bounty on world dominators was unlikely to affect world dominators too significantly. Even if the various superpowers did take action against world dominators, this situation would, at most, affect world dominators' development. It definitely wasn't enough to threaten world dominators' continued existence. Meanwhile, if world dominators decided to crush Zero Wing with everything it had, Zero Wing would stand no chance. Take the current situation, for example. Simply by having experts surround the Candlelight Hotel, world dominators had essentially rendered the hotel useless. After all, no sane person would try to enter the hotel in this situation. I don't know. Cleansed Rue shook her head. Zero Wing has already moved all its members to Abyssal Star City. Even if world dominators renders the Candlelight Hotel useless, it would be no skin off Zero Wing's nose. On the contrary, world dominators would be the ones suffering a loss for wasting so much manpower. It wasn't just Zero Wing that had shifted its base of operations to Abyssal Star City. If they hadn't agreed to meet with Nature Hall's representatives here to discuss Zero Wing, they would probably still be investigating Abyssal Star City. Inside one of the lounges in the Candlelight Hotel, a grey-haired, middle-aged man sitting on a sofa was sipping on some tea an NPC had served him while looking at Shifeng, who sat across from him. Then, after setting down his cup, he smiled and said, "You are surprisingly young, Guild Leader Black Flame. I find it hard to imagine there'd be a god-ranked expert like you in our god's domain. World Dominators is the amazing one. I didn't think it would send its renowned White Devil to the miniature ancient world. It seems World Dominators is determined to obtain the miniature ancient world," Shifeng said, smiling faintly as he looked at the middle-aged man before him. Upon hearing Shifeng's words, the middle-aged man suddenly froze. Even the two experts standing next to the middle-aged man couldn't help but look at Shifeng incredulously. "Incredible," the middle-aged man exclaimed after regaining his calm. "Less than 40 people know of my true identity in World Dominators, yet you managed to find out about it. I have to admit that you have an unbelievable intelligence network behind you. No wonder you're not afraid of our kill order. All I have to say is that I know far more than you think," Shifeng said, chuckling without elaborating further. World Dominators had 5 god-ranked experts on the surface. Meanwhile, one of them was White Devil. However, White Devil always wore a helmet whenever he appeared in front of others, so hardly anybody knew White Devil's true appearance. Of course, Shifeng wasn't included in this list. This was because he had seen White Devil's true appearance during his previous life. Back then, White Devil had been fighting 2 Outer World god-ranked experts by himself. The battle at the time had been astonishing. World Dominators had lost a holy city, the city reduced to nothing but a fiery crater spanning tens of thousands of yards. As a result of the fight, White Devil's fragmented legendary weapon and helmet had been thoroughly destroyed. Meanwhile, Shifeng, who had rushed to the scene at the time, just so happened to catch White Devil's true appearance. "Since that's the case, I won't waste time talking about nonsense." Putting on a serious look, White Devil said, "We are planning on dropping our kill order on Zero Wing, so we hope that Zero Wing, or more specifically, the Azura Mercenary Alliance, can cancel its bounty on World Dominators. Do you think you can just put a kill order on us and cancel it whenever you like? Don't you think this is unfair for Zero Wing?" Shifeng bluntly stated. "That is true." White Devil nodded. "Hence, we plan to give Zero Wing an explanation." "What explanation?" Shifeng asked curiously. "Aren't you looking to deal with Shadow?" In a definitive tone, White Devil said, "We will erase Shadow's name from God's domain." "What do you think of this condition?" "Erase Shadow from God's domain?" Shifeng grew a little interested. Although he was more than capable of erasing Shadow from God's domain himself, doing so would require a lot of time. "How long will it take?" 2 days. White Devil answered without hesitation. "In 2 days, you will no longer see Shadow in God's domain. That includes all information on Shadow." Upon hearing White Devil's words, Shifeng couldn't help but marvel at World Dominators' strength. In addition to claiming that it would eradicate a second-rate guild, it also promised to do so in 2 days. It should be known that Shadow was in control of 10 city-states. It had many branch guilds in God's domain and over 1 million members. If World Dominators wanted to erase Shadow from God's domain in 2 days, it would certainly have to pay a considerable price. "May I know what you think, Guild Leader Black Flame?" White Devil asked, smiling as he looked at Shifeng. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 3074_100 Flow City, Candlelight Hotel. 100 Flow City, Candlelight Hotel. When the various players and scouts from the various powers saw World Dominators' experts leaving the Candlelight Hotel peacefully and Shifeng and Su Qianliu walking out of the hotel, they couldn't help but be dumbfounded. What's going on? Zero Wing was actually holding a secret discussion with World Dominators just now? Weren't they going to have a big fight? They should have reached a conclusion in their talks, by the looks of things. I wonder what decision they came to. Will they be fighting or not? Everyone couldn't help but grow curious about this situation. Interesting. How interesting. It seems we made the right decision to come here this time, Stalwart Bear, who had already reached level 104, exclaimed, a look of interest appearing on his face as he watched World Dominators' experts leaving. "What do you mean, Elder Bear?" Cleansed Rue asked as she looked at Stalwart Bear in confusion. The main reason they gathered in 100 Flow City this time was to discuss whether they should seek a partnership with Zero Wing. After all, partnering with Zero Wing would mean making an enemy out of World Dominators. 100 Flower Palace was different from Witch's Sin. Witch's Sin already possessed the strength of a superpower, so World Dominators was unlikely to go to war with Witch's Sin. However, World Dominators definitely wouldn't show mercy against top-tier first-rate guilds like 100 Flower Palace and Nature Hall. I don't know about 100 Flower Palace, but Nature Hall will be seeking a partnership with Zero Wing, Stalwart Bear said, laughing. Despite having already placed a kill order on Zero Wing, the arrogant and mighty World Dominators had come to negotiate with Zero Wing. Doesn't that tell you anything? Indeed. With World Dominators' arrogance, if it had a good chance at eliminating Zero Wing, it would never try to negotiate with Zero Wing after putting a kill order on Zero Wing. It'd be a huge embarrassment if it did that. Cleansed Rue nodded. Since World Dominators had come to negotiate, it shows that even World Dominators is fearful of Zero Wing. Although World Dominators had also held a discussion with Mysterious Moon, that was only a normal consultation between guilds. Mysterious Moon's acts of aggression did not anger World Dominators or harm World Dominators' reputation. However, it was a different story for Zero Wing. World Dominators had already publicly placed a kill order on Zero Wing. Yet, now, it had come to negotiate with Zero Wing. How would the various powers of God's domain look at this situation? World Dominators would most likely become a joke in the various powers' eyes. There was no way World Dominators wouldn't know what would happen if it tried to negotiate with Zero Wing. Yet, despite knowing it, World Dominators still chose to do so. "I'm heading back first. If I don't make ample preparations beforehand, it's going to be tough to get Zero Wing to agree to a partnership," Stalwart Bear said before standing up and leaving the bar. When Rain Song saw Stalwart Bear leaving, she turned toward Cleansed Rue and asked, "What should we do, Big Sis Rue?" "We are not the same as Nature Hall," Cleansed Rue said, shaking her head and smiling. Nature Hall is only trying to obtain the other god's domain's resources and strengthen itself, so it is naturally fine for Nature Hall to partner with Zero Wing. However, our guild's aim isn't the other god's domain's resources. What we need is a strong partner. Although the various superpowers are an option, partnering with them will be too disadvantageous for us. Meanwhile, Zero Wing is only one of the several powers in our considerations. "I understand," Rainsong said, nodding. She was aware that the secret that 100 Flower Palace was in possession of far exceeded the imaginations of even the various superpowers. Unless Zero Wing possessed incredible strength, it would be unqualified to become 100 Flower Palace's partner. However, If the information Dawn Moon obtained through her reconnaissance in Zero Wing would indeed have the qualifications to become 100 Flower Palace's partner. Let's wait for Dawn Moon's report first, Cleansed Rue said. After thinking it over, she decided to wait for more information before deciding. The Abyssal Star Primordial City might be something extraordinary in the eyes of the miniature ancient world's various powers. Still, the secret that 100 Flower Palace possessed was many times greater than the Primordial City. 100 Flower Palace wasn't afraid that this secret would get exposed. What it feared most was failing to secure this secret. After all, it only had one chance, so it needed to be careful in choosing who it partnered with. Over at the Candlelight Hotel, Guild Leader, do you think World Dominators can really fulfill its promise in 2 days? After seeing that World Dominators' experts disappearing into the teleportation hall, Su Qianliu voiced the question plaguing her mind this entire time. After all was said and done, Shadow was a second-rate guild with over 1 million guild members. No matter how she looked at it, it was simply unrealistic to try and erase Shadow's name from God's domain in 2 days. I don't know, Shifeng said, shaking his head. Then, solemnly, he continued, but the various superpowers have invested far more strength into the miniature ancient world than I initially thought. There is no saying whether the other superpowers have sent their God-ranked experts over as well. We have to reach level 120 as soon as possible and enter the boundary mountain range ahead of the various superpowers. Currently, everyone was still at tier 3 in the miniature ancient world, so even if the various superpowers were strong, there was still a limit to the strength they could exhibit. However, once the various superpowers refinement realm experts reached level 120 and got promoted to tier 4, they would have an overwhelming advantage over other powers. The advantages Zero Wing currently possessed would cease to exist at that time. If Zero Wing wished to maintain its lead over the various superpowers, it would have to enter the boundary mountain range ahead of the various superpowers. After all, the resources and legacies available in other gods' domains were vastly superior to their god's domain. If the players in their god's domain could acquire an outerworld legacy, their chances of getting promoted to tier 4 would increase by 50% or more. Su Qianliu nodded in agreement with Shifeng's words. Zero Wing might look like it had a good future ahead, but it also had a lot of trouble it needed to face. After all, Zero Wing had already entered the eyes of many superpowers. If Zero Wing wasn't careful, the various superpowers would quickly gobble it up. An hour after Shifeng concluded his talks with White Devil, World Dominators retracted its kill order on Zero Wing and announced it was no longer affiliated with Shadow. In addition, World Dominators had also announced that it would be erasing Shadow from God's domain. When this news came out, the various powers in God's domain couldn't help but be stunned. Even Lan Hailong was dumbfounded when he learned of this news. He simply couldn't fathom why World Dominators would suddenly go from supporting Shadow to seeking to annihilate Shadow just because of a bounty from the Azura Mercenary Alliance. Shortly after World Dominators' announcement, every one of Shadow's members in the miniature ancient world began hiding in the various NPC cities. So long as they dared to set foot outside, World Dominators' experts would swiftly kill them. Things were even worse for Shadow on the main continent. World Dominators' experts would attack Shadow's members regardless of the location, and even those hiding in the imperial capitals of empires were not safe from attacks. A Tier 6 God-ranked expert had also destroyed all 10 of Shadow's city-states in just one short day. Moreover, just like World Dominators had stated in its announcement, it didn't just stop at causing devastating damage. It had thoroughly erased these city-states from the face of the continent. After just one night, Shadow had lost all of its guild cities. Even its residences inside NPC cities were flattened. Before one full day had even passed, Shadow had already become nothing more than an empty shell of a guild. Almost all of its non-internal members had withdrawn. As for Shadow's internal members, they didn't even dare log into God's domain. World Dominators' display of strength had thoroughly dumbfounded the various powers. At the same time, everyone in God's domain came to understand that in front of a super guild, even second and first-rate guilds were nothing but a joke. In less than 2 days, Shadow announced its dissolution, and the Lan Hua group that backed Shadow went bankrupt. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3075 Jinhai City, Lanhua Tower. Jinhai City, Lanhua Tower. Due to World Dominators' attacks and Shadow's disbandment, Lanhua Group had no choice but to declare bankruptcy to repay the many debts it owed. Originally, more than 10,000 people would occupy Lanhua Tower every day. Now, though, the building had become empty. Aside from Lan Hailong, who was staring off into space in the top-floor conference room, and a few of Shadow's executives tidying up their belongings downstairs, nobody else was in the building. That Luo Qiancheng and Zhu Yuhu are bastards through and through. I can't believe they would abscond with the guild's epic items and join a third-rate guild, a robust man grumbled as he glared at Luo Qiancheng and Zhu Yuhu, who were swiftly packing their things over on the other side of the office floor. In contrast, we, the ones fighting on the front line, ended up getting nothing at all. After glancing at Luo Qiancheng and Zhu Yuhu, Rampant Blade said, "There's no point grumbling about this. They've helped out that third-rate guild a lot in the past. Although they've now joined that third-rate guild, they were only given a position in middle management. There's no way they'd be allowed to join the guild's upper management, either. So, the most they'll be doing from now on will be guiding newbies. How are you so calm about this, Boss Blade? You probably drew the worst lot out of everyone," the robust man said, sighing. "With your strength, you could have long since joined a first-rate guild. Yet, because of World Dominators' purge, not only did your account fall back to level 100, but you've even lost most of your equipment. You'd probably need a miracle to catch up to the miniature Ancient World's frontline players at this rate. As a refinement realm expert, Rampant Blade already had the necessary combat standards to become a core member in a first-rate guild. However, because of his severe loss in level and equipment, even if he managed to get into a first-rate guild, he'd have a hard time catching up with the current level of even first-rate experts. Do you have any plans after this, Stone?" Rampant Blade asked. "Me?" The robust man who Rampant Blade addressed as Stone shook his head. "You know as well as I do what kind of combat standard I have. The best I can do is reach the Trial Tower's 7th floor. Coupled with my age, I'd be fortunate if I can get a team leader position even if I join a third-rate guild. In the current God's Domain, the various guilds placed more importance on recruiting newcomers with great potential than veteran experts with good strength. Even if there was no longer a need to worry that he might be a spy for Shadow, there was no way he could ever become a core member even if he joined a third-rate guild. At best, he could become an ordinary internal member. Are you interested in joining Zero Wing with me?" Rampant Blade asked, smiling. "Join Zero Wing?" Stone froze when he heard Rampant Blade's words. Then, looking at Rampant Blade incredulously, he asked, "Can I really join Zero Wing?" The current Zero Wing was a famous guild that many players wished to join in the miniature Ancient World. Not only did Zero Wing possess a guild residence in Abyssal Star City, but it even had the strength to get World Dominators to eradicate Shadow to appease it. Most importantly, Zero Wing's guild leader was Black Flame, a rumored Tier 6 God-ranked expert. Meanwhile, any power with a Tier 6 God-ranked expert in its ranks would instantly be regarded as a top-tier first-rate power in God's Domain. Based on what he heard, on the first day World Dominators removed its kill order on Zero Wing and began attacking Shadow, over 100,000 players had swarmed the Candlelight Hotel and applied to join Zero Wing. On the second day of World Dominators' purge of Shadow, first-rate experts and above had thoroughly surrounded Zero Wing's residence in Abyssal Star City. The situation had gotten so bad that the street outside Zero Wing's residence and 3 other neighboring streets were crowded with players. In the end, Zero Wing had to mobilize the city's NPC guards just to let Zero Wing's members walk out of the residence. The situation had only calmed down a little after Zero Wing announced one of its main recruitment conditions. The condition was simple. Those under 20 years of age could join Zero Wing so long as they could reach the Trial Tower's 7th floor. As for those above 20, they'd have to reach the half-step Refinement Realm standard at the very least, with Refinement Realm experts receiving priority considerations. This condition had instantly disqualified over 90% of the players applying to join Zero Wing. It was no exaggeration to say that this entry requirement was even more stringent than the various superpowers. However, even with this harsh condition, there was still a long line of players waiting outside Zero Wing's residence and the Candlelight Hotel. Blackie sent me an invitation hoping that I could join Zero Wing. He also hopes that I can bring some of Shadow's main force members over, Rampant Blade said, nodding. How about it? Interested? Yes. I'm interested. Of course I'm interested. Stone hurriedly nodded, his face full of excitement. It seems I'll get to continue fighting alongside you in the future as well, Boss Blade. For a veteran guild player like him, he'd have a lot of concerns when joining a new guild. So, it'd be much more assuring to have an old acquaintance as his superior. Not to mention, this was an invitation to join Zero Wing. This was an opportunity that countless experts sought to obtain. Okay. Help me invite the other main force members as well, but make sure to leave out those close to Lan Hailong. Those who joined Zero Wing initially are all people with a grudge against Lan Hailong. I don't want to cause a scene after joining Zero Wing, Rampant Blade said, nodding. Don't worry, Boss Blade. I know what to do, Stone said, laughing. Immediately afterward, Stone began going around the office, visiting Shadow's main force members one after another. Apart from Lan Hailong's close confidants, he had invited almost everyone in Shadow's main force to join Zero Wing. Meanwhile, everyone who received the invitation to join Zero Wing couldn't help but grow ecstatic. Damn it! That despicable Zero Wing! Luo Tiancheng's eyes were full of envy when he saw Stone approaching the other people in the office and inviting them to join Zero Wing. We only sided with Lan Hailong because we didn't have a choice. Shifeng is just being petty. Meanwhile, Zhu Yuhu was also envious of this situation. At the same time, he also secretly cursed Zero Wing to have a bad future. However, irregardless of what Luo Tiancheng and Zhu Yuhu felt about the situation, Rampant Blade and several dozen members of Shadow's main force left Lanhua Tower with smiles on their faces. Then, they promptly made their way to Zero Wing's temporary office located inside the God's Domain Alliance's building. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,